guys, how are you? Hope you're well. Let's talk about Penny Dreadful episode 3. I'm going to assume that you have seen already the first 2 episodes. If you want to see what my thoughts were on those 2 episodes, you can see my review and I'll just put the link up there for you to check those out. Now, episode 3 was really great in terms of story. I felt like we got a lot more information on how these people came together, like how Sir Malcolm, Vanessa, Ethan are coming together and what they're really trying to achieve. I mean, the first 2 episodes were more about atmosphere, fleshing out characters, giving us a tone and really creating that intrigue. In this episode, I thought we got more of the why. I felt like Ethan Chandler made a decision. In the first 2 episodes, he was a little bit like, he didn't really have much to do. We found out about his background, that he was, in the traveling circus, a gun for hire, predominantly driven by money, maybe escaping something in his past because he was American and traveling there in London. But he hadn't made the decision yet to join Sir Malcolm and Vanessa Ives' quest to recover the lost Mina. And in this episode, he does make that decision finally. So that's where I felt like, okay, we have characters making decisions and we're coming together, and now I can see, where the course is going for this. I thought it was clever how they wrote it in. So Ethan Chandler is continuing his sort of romantic relationship with Brona Croft, who is played by Billie Piper, and she has consumption. So because they become romantically involved and she cannot afford medicine, he is more driven to take on work and earn a living. So therefore he returns to Vanessa Ives, who he does have he's drawn to. She's obviously a very enigmatic sort of character, and he does feel drawn to her, and he finally commits that he will be a part of their group. And not since we had a little sneak peek in episode 1 where we had Sir Malcolm, Vanessa and Ethan all together sort of strolling into that opium den and trying to find this creature, and that was really a cool and like very suspenseful kind of scene. So in this episode, episode 3, we had that again, and they go to the zoo where Vanessa feels like Mina might be, like her presence might be, and they might be able to find more clues. And there's this really great moment where Vanessa says to Sir Malcolm, like she senses something, and she says to him, "What is it that you're not telling me?" So that's where you see again that he's keeping things from her. And by keeping things from her, he's keeping things from us as an audience. Hansel and Gretel, breadcrumbs along the trail. I think I might have used that analogy before for this series, but that's really how that's how I feel the series is, is dishing out pieces of information. They're going through the zoo, there are no traces of Mina, but they do recover a vampire creature they take back to the mansion and tie him up to try and extract information. And he's this wretched sort of adolescent vampire creature, completely pitiful, almost like he's got this like drug addiction to feed his vampire thirst. And what's really cool that they do in this episode is they raise an ethical conflict right here, where Sir Malcolm and Vanessa are adamant that they will do whatever is necessary to get the information, to find Mina, to get what they want. And Ethan, he's not yet completely 100% invested because he's only just signed on. He's a little bit newer to the group and he doesn't yet know how far he wants to go with this. But they really explore that dilemma, and that things aren't just good and evil and black and white. Everything is grey and different shades of grey. Speaking of grey, Dorian Grey, we didn't glimpse him at all in this episode. I was kind of sad we didn't get to see him. Thus far, he hasn't had anything to do with our main narrative. He's like off in his own little world. They introduced him in episode 2. We saw he had an interaction with Brona Croft, and more interestingly, an interaction with Vanessa Ives. They had a real, like, vibrant chemistry. I feel like they could have even left his entrance into the series for a couple more episodes until he's actually got something to do. He was kind of introduced for the sake of being introduced rather than actually having any direct effect on our story. So yeah, anyway, I'd like to see what they're going to do with him. So that wraps up that first story arc, but this episode very distinctly had two separate story narratives running. So the one that I was just talking about, and the more exciting one for me, which they're making it a secondary line, so this is like storyline B, you would say, but for me it's more interesting and exciting, and that is the one of Frankenstein and his monster. So, oh my god, the cliffhanger at the end of episode 2, last episode, was one of the like most dramatic cliffhangers I think I've seen in a long time. It wasn't just that they killed Proteus, which was Frankenstein's creature, but they killed him in the most violent and spectacularly horrifying way I've most likely ever seen. We get to flash back to two separate pasts. We see a little bit of Frankenstein's childhood, maybe like as a young child, the death of his mother, and how and why he was so inspired and driven to learn about human anatomy, to learn about everything there is about human life. The second flashback timeline being how Frankenstein created his first monster and what happened, that rejection of the creature, how the creature lived, learnt and experienced life and what it was to be human, and then how he sort of came back and sought out Frankenstein and why he's back in Frankenstein's life, because he wants something, and what he wants completely blindsided me. I thought he wanted revenge. I thought he was, you know, evil, that he had like a lot of darkness in him and wanted to get back on Frankenstein for what he did to him. But no, I was totally wrong. What he wanted was something much more poetically satisfying and beautiful, and that was he wanted an immortal mate. So he blackmails Dr. Frankenstein to create for him an immortal lover, woman mate that he can love. And it was something that I didn't expect as an audience member, and it's something that Frankenstein certainly does not expect this creature to request of him, and he is very conflicted. This creature is so quietly, eerily spooky. He calls himself modernity personified, and it really does raise those poetic, you know, often poeticized themes of nature versus modernization and civilization, and also raises all those very weighty philosophical questions, and they're the questions that linger with you when the episode is finished, and that's what I really love about a series like this. So that was just some of my thoughts on this third episode. I really think that we're getting into some meat of the story here. We are really coming together, the cast is coming together, like the pieces are falling into place a little bit more, which is fun because it feels like we're moving forward. Whereas again with the first two episodes, I thought it was just more atmosphere and creating the world. So now we're in the world, we understand it to some degree, and now it's time to move forward with our narrative. Maybe you know some more Victorian Gothic literature references than I do and have some predictions about what we're going to see next and what's going to happen with some of our characters. But yeah, I'm completely in the dark. There is so much suspense with what is going to happen, and I'm totally hooked. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Please remember to give this video a thumbs up if you'd like to see more Penny Dreadful reviews as I continue to watch the rest of the series. And make sure you also subscribe to my channel to check out my other movie reviews. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye!